So now we finally know who's succeeding Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here. This is a reaction video to the news that Ncuti Gatwa, and I really hope I'm saying that right, will be taking over as the Doctor from Jodie Whittaker, and he will be playing the 14th Doctor next year. Hopefully, if we're lucky, we might see him at the end of the Centenary Special in the regeneration scene. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But he should certainly be starting his tenure sometime next year in 2023, the show's 60th anniversary year, which will be headed by returning former Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies, who, let's be honest, is probably the best of the modern showrunners of Doctor Who, and probably the best showrunner, or at least one of the best showrunners in of the show in general. I know a lot of classic fans will scream Barry Letts and Philip Hinchcliffe, but yeah, it's definitely between them two, and RTD is in the top three, with maybe Verity Lambert coming at fourth. if we can say producers as showrunners. Anyway, so yeah, Ncuti Gatwa, I have never seen him in anything else. I haven't seen him in anything else. We've got the Horrible Histories movie on DVD, and he's apparently in that probably as a minor role though. 'Cause, on the main cast list on Wikipedia I looked at, he wasn't listed, so must have been a minor role, but one that still gets credited in the main credits. I haven't seen the movie myself, but we do have it on DVD, so I could watch it at some point. I don't know if I'd recognise him or not. But other than that, I haven't seen him in anything else. I haven't seen him in anything at all, actually. The main thing he's known for is a role in Sex Education, a Netflix series, but I have not seen that. So, and yeah, and that's really about it in terms of previous performances for me. So, I'm going to be going into him blind. I'm going into knowing how he's going to portray his character blind, not knowing anything about it. Literally, it's time. A bit like with Matt Smith. With Peter Capaldi, I'd seen him in Doctor Who in his Series 4, his character in Series 4, and his character in Torchwood Series 3. And later, I saw The Musketeers Series 1, which aired after Time the Doctor, but before Series 8. So I got to experience a bit of him before minus the regeneration scene, before I saw him as the 12th Doctor. Got to see how he was like there, and saw him in Paddington, not in 2014, but in 2016. And so I could tell what he was like in other roles outside of Doctor Who around the same time. With Jodie Whittaker, at the time of her announcement, I didn't think I'd seen her in anything, but I have seen the 2 Centurions films that she was in, so I have seen something with her in them. Though I don't think she has a very big part in either of those films, so that's probably why I didn't immediately click with, oh yeah, I have seen that person in something. It's gonna be a while before I think we're gonna have a Doctor where I think, oh yeah, I have seen that person in something else when they're announced that wasn't Doctor Who related in Peter Capaldi's case. And I do remember them being in something I have seen, unlike with Jodie Whittaker, it was like, oh, hang on, oh yeah, I have seen something she was in, but didn't think about that straight away. It's a bit like, say, if I had seen Casanova when David Tennant was announced. I got into the show when David Tennant was the Doctor, so, but in the case of, actually, that's a bad example. In the case of, I would be too young to see Secret Diary of a Cool Girl. If I saw Ruby in the Smoke, let's say, if I saw Ruby in the Smoke before Matt Smith's casting, I think he was in that, and then he was announced, and then I was like, oh yeah, he was in that. If it was something like that, I haven't seen Ruby in the Smoke. That was just a theoretical example. Then I'd be like, oh yeah, that is something I would know them from, in a way. So yeah, so we've yet to have I've yet to see a Doctor and an actor announced where I've seen them in a previous performance that I remember straight away, and either have to be reminded of later on, like with Jodie Whittaker, or were previously in a previous Doctor Who appearance, like with Peter Capaldi, and Joe Martin as well. And Joe Martin also, haven't seen anything with her before her surprise reveal in Fugitive of Dr. Judoon. But if we are going to count surprise Doctors, the exception to that, to what I was saying, is John Hurt. His reveal in The Name of the Doctor. I had seen John Hurt in the Harry Potter films, and he was the voice of the dragon in Merlin. So I'd seen those before he was the Doctor. So that's the exception. When John Hurt was the cast, I was like, I know him from stuff I've seen as well as stuff I haven't seen, but in the case of stuff I've seen, I know him from Harry Potter 1, 7, and 8, and the films, and the voice of the dragon in Merlin, which finished literally the year before. And he was only in like one episode of that anyway, besides the opening voiceover in the titles or pre-title capture thing, a bit like what's the Clyde thing in Sarah Jane Adventures series 3 to 5, and the Captain Jack and Torchwood team narration thing in series 1 and 2 of Torchwood. Anyway, so yeah, Ncuti Gatwa. Again, I really hope I'm saying that right. In terms of it being a male Doctor again, after the first female Doctor with Jodie Whittaker, I do have to say I am a bit disappointed it's not going to be another woman, partly because I am an advocate of female Doctors, and partly because I don't want this to be seen as the 13th Doctor's casting to be a failed experiment by the BBC and the showrunning team, the creative team of, we've got our first female Doctor, and in terms of the main numbered ones, not including Joe Martin or the Timeless Children ones, she is currently the only one of the 14, including the recently announced newbie. And at the moment she's the only female Doctor of the main lot. And I did not want it to be seen as a failed experiment. I'd rather it be seen as the pilot experiment, or the first try, the first go as a female Doctor. And maybe later down the line, we will get further female Doctors. The barrier has finally been opened wider to the possibilities, because with regeneration, I've mentioned this before, regeneration, you can literally be anything. You can... I mean, if they wanted to, the actor playing the Doctor could be in makeup or costume to make them look like a completely different species. Not necessarily human, it could be completely separate. And that would work completely fine in the lore of the show as established so far. Yeah, I know the continuity keeps changing and all over the place, but let's say from the Deadly Assassin, where they've established the 13 regenerations of the character, with the additions of additional regenerations being included later on, see 5 Doctors, Time of the Doctor, etc. And then the idea of the Doctor literally being anything, which is mainly referenced in the Death of the Doctor, which is a Sarah Jane Adventures 2-parter, and then the Doctor's wife says that the Doctor Time Lords can change gender. And then Hellbent, we saw the first female Master in Series 8, and then the first not just gender swap, we also saw the first on-screen race swap in Hellbent. It was a terrible episode, and the way they handled a bit afterwards wasn't quite that great. Although the general regenerating from a white man into a black woman itself was fine, but the thing led up to the regeneration and the black females general's comments about men, not so much. In the case of the latter, it could be taken the wrong way, and in the case of the former, well, let's just say that the Doctor shooting his friend was not a good move. I've done a whole rant about Hellbent if you want to go and have a look. It's been up for about a year or so go ahead, check it out. But anyway, the idea of gender swap, race swap, etc., it's part of regeneration. You could literally be anything. As the Ninth Doctor mentions in Parting the Ways, he could have 2 heads or no head. Imagine how odd that would be. So the regeneration could be literally anything, and in the case of, but we'd always had white male doctors up until Jodie Whittaker, and that finally indicate. I mean, I wouldn't have minded it staying that way, but in the case of actually expanding it to include, yes, it can literally be anybody, then yeah, it worked, and the same applies for the recent casting for Natgwa. Oh, damn it! I've screwed it up already. Yeah, It's gonna take me a while to get to grips with the name. Ncuti Gatwa. Okay, I think I got it. I have to drill it into the head a little bit more. Okay, so the floodgate's been opened, but I would have liked to have seen another female Doctor, at least for number 14. Maybe number 15 could have gone back, but number 14 I would have liked it to say, yeah, the experiment was not a failure, and doctors the Time Lords can change genders. It's official, and it's not just for one incarnation. It's not just a one token incarnation. It's in general. But you know what? We've got the future, so there's always the future where we can have more female doctors and more black doctors, and heck, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's have some doctors who aren't from the UK. Gatwan is part Scottish. He's part Rwandan. Yeah, part Rwandan and part Scottish. So he technically is part British, but he's also part Rwandan. And so that's cool. Let's maybe one of the future actors might not be from the UK. I'm not saying maybe cast all of the next couple ones outside of the UK or specifically look for non-UK actors, but it's a possibility. To start, not all of the doctors have to come from Scotland or England. We haven't had a Welsh one yet, I don't think. I think Paul McGann might be from Ireland or Northern Ireland, but yeah. But yeah, not all the doctors have to be from England or Scotland. We can mix it up a little bit. It's a bit like with James Bond. They're not always from England or Scotland. One of them was Australian and one of them was from Ireland. But despite not having another female doctor as number 14, it is really interesting to see the first official numbered black doctors in one of the main incarnations, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Whilst Jo Martin technically is the first black incarnation of the Doctor, or first coloured incarnation seen on screen, she's more of a guest Doctor like John Hurt was, and not numbered. And at the moment, we don't know where that is. We might not even ever find out if Chris Chibnall's interview is anything to go by. Recent interview for Doctor Magazine. But in the case of the numbered incarnations, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., Gatwan is the first black Doctor in numbered. He's also the first black male Doctor, as Jo Martin was the first black female Doctor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, female and blacks. So technically, she is the second female incarnation on screen, but as I mentioned, she's not numbered. Therefore not the 14th Doctor, therefore not the second numbered female Doctor or the first black numbered Doctor, as the latter honour now goes to Ncuti Gatwa. The former honour, I don't know, we'll find out maybe in a couple of years' time or so, whether that's the 15th Doctor or the 16th or the 17th. We'll find out later down the line. Hopefully if the show doesn't get cancelled. If the show stays around, if it gets cancelled, well, that would just fucking suck, wouldn't it? Even if the quality doesn't improve, it still suck that the show wouldn't be around full stop. I'd rather have the Moffat era and the Chibnall era, the worst parts of them. I'd rather have the worst parts of the Moffat era and the worst parts of the Chibnall era combined and extended for a 20-year period, instead of a cancellation or hiatus, even for another year. Okay, year breaks are fine. 2-year breaks, okay, but okay, another hiatus or outright cancellation. I'd rather have the worst bits of the, not even just the Moffat and Chibnall eras, all the worst points of the whole show. I'd rather have the worst points of the show combined into a single era and stretched out for multiple years, instead of the show being cancelled. I'd rather take bad Doctor Who over no Doctor Who. Even the fucking Space Pirates. Even if I had to watch the fucking Space Pirates found, or animated or otherwise. Heck, I'll take the audio. Take the audio only option. I'd rather go through that on loop for eternity than having the show outright cancelled again. Yeah, I'm putting my foot down on the whole cancellation hiatus thing. I'd rather have terrible Who on loop for decades than no Who ever again, or another fucking hiatus. I'm putting my foot down right now. And that's my foot going down. I'd rather have bad Who forever instead of no Who. I'd rather it wouldn't be bad, but it's better than nothing. Okay, with that little tangent over, because I know a lot of people are going to probably would prefer the cancellation over some of the more recent eras, but no, my foot is down on the fact that I take the worst points of those eras combined for decades instead of an outright cancellation or a hiatus, even if it led to another successful revival, really, really awesome, just like the RTD era, the first one was. I'd rather we didn't have that hiatus more than 2 to 3 years tops. 5 absolute fucking maximum. I'd rather not go on another hiatus, and I'd certainly, absolutely do not want this show cancelled ever again. Even if it has to go away for a bit. Okay, I'll take the going away for a bit, but if it's going to come back, there. But I'd rather it be bad than cancelled. Unless it was cancelled because it was bad. Then I understand. But for other reasons, no. Foot's down. Foot is down. And it's staying down forever. It's only that little bit at the top maybe raised if the quality's so bad it has to go, but otherwise the foot is down. The foot is, to quote the guy from the dad's fear in Inside Out, the foot is down. The foot is down. Okay, getting away from that random tangent. But anyway, yeah. So whilst I am a bit disappointed that we don't have another female Doctor as number 14, I am really happy we do have a black actor as number 14. So we're getting some more variety, and it's more equality. And again, it's proving that we can push the boat out, we can expand it, the character can literally be anybody. And apparently the actor really shone. He really showed the show. It stole the show, or the audition anyway. And Russell T Davies mentions in a small interview for the news that they thought they had somebody, but then Ncuti Gatwa came in and he just knocked it out the park, and he was incredible, and so they cast him. And if he's good enough to impress Russell T Davies, then he must be great. If he knocked it out of the park, especially if they had somebody planned, we might not know who they were going to initially cast, or who they had as this is who we are most likely to cast, but we still got to get go for a few more people. Okay, and then we'll make a final decision at the end. And then Gatwa came in, stole the show, and they decided, okay, we're taking him. We're picking him. We had this other person, but now we're going to pick him. So we might not know who that other person is. We might never find out, or it will take a while till it is revealed. But that's okay. If Ncuti Gatwa was the best choice for the role, then I completely trust Russell T Davies' judgment on that. In the case of the 13th Doctor's casting, when Trish Chibnall said a similar thing about Jodie Whittaker, I don't know if I'd completely agree, but then again, I wasn't at the audition, so I can't comment, really. But I trust the showrunner's decisions, so with Russell T Davies, I trust him. If he thought Gatwa was the best choice for the role, then trusting his decision and his judgment. And I look forward to a spectacular performance from our 14th Doctor come next year. Maybe even in this the regeneration scene, if we're lucky. Although then again, the regeneration scenes are never the new Doctor's best performance scenes. But they can do they can leave a good impression on the audience, given enough time. So if the regeneration scene does feature the new Doctor, then hopefully we'll get enough time to see what, maybe a tease of what he might be like. And also, watching the video, got a tease of what Gatwan is like in real life, and talking to the interviewer. Yeah, he seems like a great guy. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he adapts to the role, and how he brings his own um himself into it, how much he brings himself into the role, and how much he makes the role his own. And yeah, I think he's going to be really great. Just going from, I can't comment on previous work, but just going on that bit with him talking as a great guy, and Russell T Davis's decision, I think he will be great, because Russell T Davis, 14, he will be great, and he seems like a nice chap. So yeah, it's a bit strange of how they announced it. He just messaged it on his Instagram. Then Russell T Davis said yes, he is the next Doctor, after people started speculating, and then the official the Doctor Who Twitter page dropped it, and then BBC News ran with it. And yeah, it's not the most conventional way to announce the Doctor these days, considering the ways they've introduced the Doctor in the last three Doctors. Matt Smith got an episode of Doctor Who Confidential, where they were building up about talking about the first 10 Doctors, and then they introduced Matt Smith, and they talked to him for a bit. Peter Capaldi got a massive live show to introduce him. Jodie Whittaker got a tease, and a small short that was teased during the men's Wimbledon finals. Ironic game to play it, to show it in. If it was a male Doctor, like, oh, actually that makes a lot of sense, because it was a female Doctor. It's a little yeah, guys, maybe you should have shown it in the women's final. That was similar also to the Pearl Mackie reveal during a half time during one of the football games in April 2016. Yeah, sports events seem to be the place to drop shorts or minisodes with announcements. And well, John Bishop also got on a kind of a minisode and / trailer announcement at the end of Revolution of the Daleks. But with Ncuti Gatwa, they just they teased it on social media, and then they officially announced it on his social media, and then they announced it on the official Doctor Who Twitter and page, and then the news got hold of it. So it's probably the least spectacular news release since David Tennant was just announced in a BBC News article. No fanfare, nothing spectacle. Just an Instagram post, a tweet, and a little video by BBC News for the BBC News channel, talking to him and Russell T Davis, and a couple of news articles. Yeah, not exactly the most exciting way to introduce a new Doctor, but I suppose that was how things went back. Mr. TARDIS has actually done a really good video about Doctor announcements, casting and leaving announcements for each Doctor, up from William Hartnell to Jodie Whittaker, including John Hurt, Joe Martin, and Peter Cushing, the movie Doctor. So yeah, so most of those were the first couple of them were mostly new stuff, but they started to get a bit more showcasey within the 1980s. Well, John Newton Turner was the producer after all, and then it went back to the news articles for the RTD era 1, but then we started to get the bigger showcasey ones again, back, starting with David Tennant's departure announcement, and then the casting announcements for the following 3 Doctors, and Capaldi's departure announcement on BBC Radio. Matt Smith's departure was a news article. Bloody sirens. Oh, stop now. Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall's departures, that was also just randomly dropped news article instead of done at Comic-Con. Though that might have been because it was about to leak. Same with RTD's announcement of becoming the successor as showrunner. And apparently that one was cast, or is at least known he was going to play the Doctor since February. So February of this year. So he's had to keep that secret. For around 2 to 3 months. So yeah, maybe it was going to leak again. Maybe it was going to leak, so they thought, you know what, let's just drop it. Let's just say it. We've made people wait long enough. It's May 2022. It's the 8th of May. The announcement of Jodie and Chris's departure was around the 28th, 29th of July. It might have been the 27th. Late July 2021. It's been over 9 months or so. Let's just drop it and let's get the fans excited for the next era yet again, as well as also stop them getting so frustrated about who the next Doctor is, because we have been getting quite frustrated about not knowing who the next Doctor is. We got frustrated about not knowing who the next showrunner would be, and and Russell was announced only 2 months after Chibnall. I think it was mainly in the case of the showrunner. It was mainly the case of, does that mean the show's even going to carry on kind of vibe if they haven't announced the next showrunner? As for the Doctor, we could probably wait a little bit longer until they've cast them and they're ready to announce them, as is what happened. I think people were more worried about the show, who's going to be the next showrunner, because without the showrunner, you would not get the next Doctor. And so yeah, it's interesting that they've done the announcement this way, and they've taken this amount of time to decide to announce it. But it's up to them. It's their decisions, and who knows? Maybe they're playing the long game. And yes, that is sort of a reference to both the long game and Bad Wolf in Series 1. Someone has been playing the long game. And I believe that is RTD himself, as well as Chibnall to an extent as well, with his era, more or less. They're playing long games, and could it work? Well, in terms of RTD, they've definitely done the speculation right. They just have to nail the marketing when the time comes, which is something that Chibnall era. Let's face it, this is probably something the fandom is almost unanimous on. The era as a whole is very split all over the place, but in terms of the marketing for the series, besides maybe the trailers for Series 11 prior to its release, the marketing for the 13th Doctor's era has been pretty poor. Whilst there's been some nice trailers, they usually come, at best, just over a month before the episode airs, or the series airs. I suppose Series 11 had a great build-up of trailers a couple months before the series aired, but after Series 11, it started to go down. There was some sort of a pickup with some sort of event tying into Flux prior to Series 13, but even then, that wasn't quite enough. And then the trailers for that started coming half a month before the series broadcast. And same for Legend of the Sea Devils. The only episode exception was Eve of the Daleks. Actually, no, that wasn't the trailer. That was the information. That was the news and information about it. Okay, but that was still about just over a month away. I would not be surprised if we didn't get another Centenary Special trailer until, at earliest, late August. If not, early to mid-September. Apparently it's going to be 90 minutes, so that's great. That's great to know. It's going to be the longest episode since the 5 Doctors. TV movie is 86 minutes. 85 on broadcast versions, apart from Doctor Who 1999, because they had to cut some bits. So it will be the longest episode since the 5 Doctors, TV broadcast version, because the extended version is 100 minutes. Oh, that's individual episode. Longest individual episode. My mistake. Serials are obviously there's longer serials, but in terms of individual episodes, it's the longest one since 5 Doctors. And thank goodness, 90 minutes. It's gonna be incredibly busy, incredibly packed. So yeah, hopefully it will be wrapped up good enough if they've got 90 minutes to play with, and hopefully the last minute or two we'll see Ncuti Gatwa make his introduction as the 14th Doctor. Fingers crossed, and then we'll just have to sit back and wait until his first story arrives. Even if it's 13 months later, give or depending if the 60th anniversary special will, or around November 23rd of November 2023 will be the start of his era, which will make it the longest gap between the previous Doctor's last story, next Doctor's first story. I think in the show itself, definitely the new series, Hartnell to Troughton was a week. Troughton to Pertwee was about 5 months. Pertwee to Tom Baker was about half a year. Tom Baker to Peter Davison was about 10 months. 9 to 10 months. Davison to Colin Baker was a week. Actually, it was 6 days because of the scheduling there. Colin Baker to Sylvester McCoy was about 9 months. Not including the wilderness years, of course. But then again, Sylvester McCoy regenerates into Paul McGann in the TV movie itself. So not including the wilderness years, then I think Chris Ruxton, David Tennant was about 6 months. David Tennant to Matt Smith was 3 months. Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi was 8 months. And Peter Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker was 10 months, or, well, just over 9 months. So, yeah, if it is 13 months, it will be the longest one by a bit, quite a bit. But, oh well. Final notes on this. So, whilst a lot of people have done reactions to this, including myself, I haven't looked at anybody else's reactions yet. But from what I have gathered, from what I have looked around, it seems to be positive. It seems to be a positive reception. Good on us. But from a tweet by William Hu, who's a great guy, go and check him out. I think it was William Hu. He screenshotted a comment on one of his videos, his video on the news, and it was basically another Not My Doctor saying the show has definitely gone I can't even speak. Full woke, and that the BBC and RTD have done the last thing to drive away the fans. So, yeah, as I kind of expected, yeah, Not My Doctors are not going to be happy about this because they don't like seeing black people on screen any more than they like seeing women on screen. So, yeah. Even though it's a guy again, the Not My Doctors are still gonna be pissed because it's not a white dude. Again, it's a black person, so they're gonna be up in arms. Maybe even more so than it was a woman. Don't believe me? Someone literally threatened to bomb the BBC when Jodie Whittaker was cast. This is how far people may go, and you know this discourse between the Not My Doctors. I was hoping maybe it might go down a bit after Jodie leaves. Even if the next Doctor was a woman, maybe it might calm down a bit. It's like, it's a woman again, damn it. So the same old usual stuff, but maybe it's calmed down a bit because it's the second one. Or if it was another guy, then maybe they'd calm down a heck more because it wasn't a woman. But, oh yeah, they're racist as well as sexist. This is not everybody who was against the female Doctor thing or who's not really a fan of Jodie Whittaker or the 13th Doctor or the Chibnall era. This is not everybody. This is specifically the Not My Doctors. This is specifically the haters. Specifically the ones who are incredibly horrible, incredibly nasty, and just absolute scumbags. It's not everybody who's not a fan of 13 or the female Doctor or a black Doctor if someone was, but not for racist reasons. Which, in this one's case, it's less easy to defend now, guys. Less easy to defend, especially with the whole regeneration thing opening everything up to literally anybody. But I'm specifically talking about the scumbags known only as Not My Doctor. Yeah. They're going to be pissed because it's a black guy. Fuck off, Not My Doctors. As for toxic positivity, people, most of them were kind of on Jodie's side, so I hope if they are, I hope they're not going to be toxic, but let's hope they are not, and they are not going to go the same way as Not My Doctors and be against a black actor being the Doctor, or going against them being male again instead of another female Doctor, a bit like with what happened with John Bishop being cast as Dan, where many people wanted a 13 and Yaz duo series, and then Dan was announced to be a companion coming along, and people kind of got a bit annoyed that there was another white dude, white in the TARDIS alongside him, and they wanted a Phasmin series. And I'm not sure if they said anything horrible, but I wouldn't be surprised. In some certain corners of the internet and other corners of the internet, they probably say it's for diversity hiring, which is odd because it's the guys they would like. Yeah, toxic positivity people and not my doctors are not nice. They're not nice. Stick with the regular fans, regardless of opinion. Stick with the regular fans, which seem to be the majority, thank God. Something odd happened outside. Anyway, so final thoughts. Ncuti Gatwa, welcome to Doctor Who. I wish you all the luck. And Jodie Whittaker, thank you so much for being the 13th Doctor. I will do you an official thank you and toasting in the review of the Centenary Special, which still hasn't been titled. We haven't had a title yet, but I will do a proper toast to Jodie Whittaker at the end of that review, as I have done for the other Doctors in their final episode reviews on this channel. I don't think I did it for Peter Capaldi's in my initial review of Twice Upon a Time, but I certainly did it for the Revisitation one, and also for every other review for the other Doctors. Matt Smith is on Universal's channel, so the video on the Retro channel is a link video to that. But I certainly do it, and I'm pretty sure I do it to John Hurt as well. I don't know if I did it for Peter Cushing. Gonna do it for Jo Martin if she's in the episode. If she's not in the episode, I'll do one on the side anyway. And you know what? I'm thinking of doing one for Chris Chibnall as well, because even though his era is not very good, not that great, I mean, he's got some good stuff in there. Even though his era is not that great, considering all the shit certain fan base, certain members of the fandom are throwing at it, not my Doctor scum. Considering some of the things people were saying, I'll give him a toast just to say, you know, we have our differences. Your era is not entirely perfect, in my opinion, but and maybe you've made some questionable choices, but you know, there's too much hate going around. I do kind of respect you in a way. Here, have a toast. So yeah, I think I'm going to toast Chris Chibnall because there's too much negativity of his era. I'm going to give him some sort of essay of yeah, it wasn't so great, but you know what, you did a good job regardless. Cheers. I should have done that for Stephen Moffat with Twice Upon a Time. Revisitation. Oh well. Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on that, on those points, but you know, too much negativity is a negative thing. So let's throw some positivity in there. Also, I might forget by then, so forget to do it by then. So yeah, must remember to do it for Jodie and maybe Jo as well. But okay, so that's really about it. I'm looking forward to seeing Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, the 14th Doctor, when the time arises. But until then, we've still got one more episode of Jodie Whittaker. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm looking forward to her final story, and I'm looking forward to his era when it comes around. And yeah, comment down below your opinions of Ncuti Gatwa, his casting, and how he was announced, and what's your feelings? To summarize mine, I think it's great, despite not seeing him in anything else. I trust RTD's judgment. If he said he's the best guy for the job, then yeah, or the best person for the job, and then yeah, I trust his judgment. And whilst I'm disappointed it's not another woman, I am happy it is someone of colour, so that we can continue pushing the expansion of the possibilities of regeneration and casting. Because the Doctor is one of the roles where you can choose literally anybody. It's not restricted. It's not, you don't have to follow certain rules, because they're a Time Lord. They regenerate. If we were following tight restrictions, then the only thing that would really be changing is the age and perhaps the accent. And that for the longest time, that was it. That was really the only reason. The only change were in terms of physical, were the acts into were the youth, how old they were, whether they were younger or older, and also in terms of voice, whether they had a accent or not, or how they sounded. And yeah, there's personality differences per each one, but in terms of push, like you can choose anybody, but for the longest time it was mainly just swapping ages and maybe national UK nationality now and again. But with Jodie Whittaker's casting, is actually said we can choose a different gender, we can choose different colours, can choose different nationalities. So I'm glad the boat's been pushed out for that. On that regards, and looks like the Not My Doctors aren't going to be calming down anytime soon. So, well, we'll just have to continue to mock them in a fun way, of course, in a fun way. But they are scum. They are very, very scummy. Not afraid to say that. So, yeah, one last time, Ncuti Gatwa, welcome to Doctor Who, and I'll see you in your first appearance. And for the rest of you, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Sorry if this video was quite long. Sorry about that. But hopefully it was a lot of discussion in there. And again, comment down below your opinions on the casting, how it was handled, and who you would have maybe liked to have as the 14th Doctor. Personally, I would have... my personal number one choice was Hayley Atwell, and that's who I probably would cast as my first Doctor. Prior to going through auditions, if I was to be a showrunner. But yeah, comment down below who you might have wanted. If Gatwa isn't the choice you wanted, or you're not satisfied with the choice, comment down below who you would have wanted, and just spread some positivity. Let's spread some positivity around with the casting announcement. And how are you looking forward to Jodie Whittaker's last episode? Not just for the fact it's going to be over, just the episode itself. Just do some nice comments down below. Just make a discussion in there. Polite, of course. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheerio. Bye-bye. Oh, hang on. That's Tom Baker.